Hi, welcome to another edition of Ask Jeff, which is basically the show that you create. And it's created from questions that you ask. The parameters for these questions are really wide open. I get to screen them. So if you ask a question and you specifically request it for an Ask Jeff segment, maybe it might make it or maybe it won't. The pattern that I usually have is that I get questions all the time. Most of them I answer via email. Some of them we'll hold back for segments like this. And then some of them, and the first one is certainly one of those, since we've been doing this, we've been getting a few questions that are more designed to see what kind of answer I might come up with. That's this one. And just so you know, we don't duck questions here. This is the question. It was, Dear Jeff, is Christian Bale a Christian? That's the actor Christian Bale, right? His parents must have named him Christian for a reason. Question mark. Then it was noted this is for the Ask Jeff TV show. So we've heard your question. And it's a burning question, I'm sure, that is burning in most people's minds. You'll remember Christian Bale. He's been in a variety of movies. Most memorable for me is the Dark Knight trilogy that he was in, where he did that Batman, and then all of a sudden Batman had changed his voice. I mean, that Batman series. But Christian Bale, is he a Christian? Well, the answer to that question is probably complicated and not complicated. For example, is Mitt Romney really a baseball mitt? Or is Kevin Bacon a breakfast treat? No. So just because Christian Bale has Christian in his name doesn't necessarily mean he's Christian. Doesn't mean that his parents had that aspiration for him, and it doesn't mean that he's not. We don't know. Whether he is or whether he isn't is between him and God. To be honest with you, I didn't even take the time before I answered this question to research the answer to that because the question was specific. Is Christian Bale a Christian? Because his parents must have had something in mind when they named him that. Now, Christian, as a name, means follower of Christ. And the Bible talks about the fact that the early church was first called Christians at Antioch. So that's where the name comes from. But even as you think about that, remember that Christians didn't start calling themselves Christians. They were followers of the way. They were followers of Christ. But it was the city of Athens, which was the center of the known world at that time. It was the place where everything happened, and everything that happened in the world went through Athens. And in the first century, this movement of followers of Jesus became so strong and became so prevalent and was impacting the world. One description in the book of Acts says it was turning the world upside down. They had to have a name. The culture had to have a name for these followers of Christ. And so they were called Christians at Antioch. It's not that the church had a meeting one day and said, we need to come up with a name. What are we going to call ourselves? Bill, Bob, George? No. It was the culture that reached in and said, well, they're going to be Christians. They are little images of Christ, followers of Christ. And so that's where the title comes from. I can't answer the question about Christian Bale. If you meet him, you can ask him yourself. And if he's not, share your faith with him. Why not? But at the end of the day, that name Christian does mean something. And interestingly enough, what makes it so important is that that's what the world could see in the followers of Christ. And they so identified them with who Jesus was that that was the title that they gave him. Bet you didn't know that. Or maybe you did. Maybe I'm just entertaining myself here. But that's this edition of Ask Jeff. Thanks for the questions. If you have a question specifically for this, label it Ask Jeff so we know that we need to kind of look at it and take a look and see if it's going to make one of our webcasts here. Anyway, until next time, I'm Jeff. You asked me. You got your answer.